Okay, so hello everyone. This is the How Web3 is Changing Society panel. And my panelist today is Chauncey St. John, CEO of Angel Protocol. You want to give yourself an introduction?
Yeah. Hi. Founder of Angel Protocol. We do social impact on chain, working with nonprofits and social entrepreneurs to use Web3 tools to give more transparent, financially inclusive ways for people to raise funds all over the world with very little friction.
Very cool. The next panelist is Deanna McFadder, from CEO of Nachi. Sorry.
Hi everyone, Deanna McFadder here. I'm Nachi, like the Fibonacci sequence. It's a data storytelling company where we use the power of data for good and democratize the power of data. And so my company is also incubating, and we've launched a Web3 music platform called Super Fanatics that's coming next year. So that's the context that I'm here and excited to talk to all of you guys.
Very cool. Next we have Eve Laganova Parker, CEO of Evanesce.
Ta-da. Yep. Working. That's correct. Thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. I know it's a long one. Hi, I'm CEO and founder of Evanesce. The company originally started in Amsterdam and scaled to the United States in the beginning of this year. What we do, we specialize in inclusive and accessible solutions in Web3, AI, and metaverse domains. So our ultimate goal is to bring as many people as possible into this wonderful, wonderful virtual reality.
Absolutely. Next we have Stacy Yael from Visible Women NFT.
Hi there, I'm Stacy, great to be here. And Visible Women NFT is a media startup and community around igniting feminine intelligence. And we're creating podcasts and NFTs and hoping, in the spirit of our panel today, changing society, to ignite the inner knowing and joy of interconnectedness and collaboration and sharing raw, edgy stories through podcast conversations. And we just dropped an NFT of Michelle Obama. And we're going to be dropping monthly NFTs for our patrons and highlighting trailblazing, intrepid women through the NFT drops.
Awesome. Next we have Tarja Stevens, co-founder of Mission Impact.
Yes, hi everyone, my name is Tarja, and the name comes from Finland. However, I've been here in Miami over a decade, so super excited to have all of you here. This is exciting time for here in Miami. So I'm a co-founder of Mission Impact, and we are a global education platform for women in emerging technologies. And we provide education programs, leadership training, and also helping companies to build their teams and really upskilling current and new talent.
Awesome. And I'm your moderator, Ty Greenfield, the mayor, host of the NFT and Chill podcast. So the first question we're going to get into is how Web3 is changing the way people use the internet and social media. Eva, you want to answer the question? We're just going to go down the line.
Still checking. I don't know, it's playing jokes on me. So how our internet is changing?
How Web3 is changing the way
Web3.
people use the internet and social media.
Right, it's a great question because as we see, it's becoming more and more interactive and engaging with Web3, and people love the experience of not just scrolling through the pages, clicking and playing videos, but actually becoming avatars, having their identity represented in the avatar form, running around, meeting, greeting, learning from one another, and organizing their own events without leaving the premises of their homes. So I think that's just the beginning, but it's becoming definitely more engaging.
Definitely. Deanna?
Well, I mean, I think that social media is something that's ripe for disruption. And I think that Web3 is where that disruption is going to come from. And being able to sort of fight with the idea of identity in the context of social media and the way that our data is being used in the context of social media, that's where I think the most disruption is going to come as it relates to Web3 with social. But I don't think we've seen what the answer is going to be yet. I haven't seen anything that really excites me yet, but I think it's coming because it's broken fundamentally, particularly when we look at Web3, and the fact that the internet still goes down when lots of people try to do things, particularly in Web3, just shows you there's so much room to grow, especially as it relates to social.
Yeah, absolutely. Chauncey?
So with Web3, just the terminology makes you think of like a improved version of the internet. But really, I think it's almost a fundamentally different technology. It's a step-level improvement in how humans can coordinate, how they can transfer value. So we use a lot of analogs from the internet because it's the closest comparison. But I think there's a huge important difference in the ownership economy. Actually being able to own your NFTs, interact with open source code in a trustless manner. And it really changes how humans can coordinate across the board. And so that's why we're really using it to reimagine impact financing, because it's exactly the kind of problem where you have a lack of trust, you have a lack of transparency, you have a lot of intermediaries taking fees out the middle, and it's hard to actually get capital to impact. So with Web3, I really think it offers a tool set that simply wasn't available before this time. So very excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Stacy?
So I think I can pick up along. I feel like we're telling a cumulative story right now. So I'll just give a case use that through leveraging social media, which I think is essential to engage in Web3, I was on a Twitter space with communities that are based in the Middle East and North Africa. And when I first entered that space, I felt that I would have very little in common with the women that were hosting the space that had reached out and invited me. And I couldn't have been more wrong. I basically get on this space and I made life connections. I told people after that hour on that Twitter space that my entire life changed, from opening my eyes to women globally and how much we had in common and how much I could learn in that experience. Cutting to 8 months later, I just had a podcast interview with Sharouk Amin. She is at the forefront of NFTs and Web3 art in Kuwait. And she's an amazing trailblazer. And she shared on the podcast how basically Web3 and social media completely changed her life because her art was being censored. And she's a trailblazer by being a single mom and the type of art that she was creating. And by leveraging social media, she basically, and using Web3, she has become a global thought leader along the lines of the work that she's doing. So I think that it is, individual by individual that is engaging, despite algorithms, despite the challenges that we face. It is actually empowering and leading to ownership over ideas and ownership over your life decisions, and the trajectory of your life can be greatly enhanced by engaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's great, all of it. And I think what I must just add, that the limitless possibilities right now for the youth all around the world. So when we find these, we work a lot with the women and with the community building, and with our programming, it's like you find someone from India. We have an NFT artist who's 14 years old and now supporting the family and community. And those are with the social media, with the Web3. So what we see is the potential of youth really understanding the power. So when we talk about the leadership, we really want to define it. Like now we have an impact action leaders who are the young ones, and not like me who was in a corporate over a decade, that the leadership was, for me, that's the way you need to be doing it. So I think there's a lot of in the social media, and the web is giving incredible opportunities now to have these young and shining lights getting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it also gives content creators and just people in general more ownership of what they're putting out there content-wise. And I think, we definitely need more decentralization, and hopefully social media platforms that are actually decentralized, where the content that we put out is actually our own and not the platforms. So in terms of society, like how does Web3 bring society, I guess, closer together? If you're talking about borders and even with underdeveloped nations.
We have to share, right? Could you please repeat the question?
So how does Web3 bring society closer together from people from all over the world, like bringing down borders and also underdeveloped nations?
I say it has a potential. It's not yet working that well in terms of, okay, metaverse removes the borders and it becomes accessible by definition of things and design. But then once you start looking into profiles of people, do they have dyslexia? Do they have blindness? Do they have deafness? Do they have mobility issues? Do they have limited internet access? Do they have old flipper phones? So then you kind of chop out like 85 to 90% of population. And then you're like, okay, well, 10% are lucky for sure. They have stable internet connection and great laptops. And then maybe some of them have VR headset. So how it is changing the whole dynamics is that we need to look not only in how we build things, but also regulatory perspective and support of others who cannot get into Web3, be part of it. Because if we keep on doing what we're doing right now, just us having fun with Web3, well, that becomes an exclusive club, right? If you want to make it inclusive and have everyone using technology to the full extent, like Internet of Things over the phone and so on, Internet over the phone, then we should be also thinking through how people have access and get involved.
Yeah, great. Deanna?
We're going down the line still?
Yeah, we're just going to keep going down the line.
I think that it's all about how do we make it interesting and how do we make it something that actually solves a need in the short term and not just in the long term. And so I think that right now the types of people that are building are still people that have some sort of an engineering mindset, or they had the ability to get in early and make something, right? Make some money, create something. They might see an opportunity. And so I think until we frame the solutions in the context of the problems that need to be solved in these different places, there really won't be any change there. And so when we just talk about accessibility, it's really easy to say that, but then when you go into how do you make something accessible, that's actually something that probably isn't a Web3 problem, but it's just a people problem. And so if we're not talking about those problems and figuring out how to solve them, I don't think we have a chance at it having a different impact than what Web 2 and the previous technological innovations have done.
Yeah, great answer. Chauncey?
Yeah, so I would highlight the direct connection that it enables, the direct value transfer with really no friction, especially from areas that have more money to allocate to the areas that need it. So our big focus is financial inclusion, and especially on emerging markets. So we onboard NGOs all over the world. We work with social entrepreneurs in emerging markets because capital flow to impact is constrained and inefficient. And it's inequitable, deeply, deeply inequitable. It's very hard to get access to capital to drive world-changing improvements. And I'll borrow a tagline from another company here. Brilliance is equally distributed, opportunity is not. And really, when you look at it, a lot of the people who can make the most impactful change are the smaller orgs, the ones spread all over the world, doing work on the ground. So rather than funding the Red Cross to come in and provide aid from above, by helping promote NGOs and social entrepreneurs on the ground, that was never possible before Web3. You had to deal with international wire transfers, you had to go through intermediaries, there would be people taking cuts along the whole process, you don't know if the money's getting to where it's going to. So that's where the technology is fundamentally revolutionary and changes how we can actually support each other across the globe.
Yeah. Stacey?
So I think what we're toying between is where things are replicating, right? So a lot of the inequity that is going on in the world is going on in Web3, right? Things are replicating, and then where is the opportunity for things to improve? And where I see the greatest opportunity for improvement is around collaboration and connections. And I think particularly as Visible Women is Women Forward, that there is a lot of inherent competition amongst women. And I think there can be a reframe around you and I, whether it's men, women, LGBTQ+, non-binary, we are going to collaborate and rise together or stay in that sort of outdated competition model. So I think that's where the greatest opportunities lies to actually make the change, because I see it happening for myself and other members of the community. like in real time, that when you make those connections, especially whether it's at a conference or through a Twitter space, that you're having access now in a different way to founders and project creators. I agree, it's still hard to get funding, and I think, you know, all of those inequities are replicating. So the more that we are acknowledging that, like that's the first step of anything, right? Acknowledging those replicating patterns and then working together to break those patterns, is, I think the connections are the catalyst that can start to create the change.
That's great. And I wanted to add a case study, because what you mentioned about the global impact of very much how now nonprofits, for example, work. So my co-founder is in Finland, and we work with nonprofits. We talk to them quite a lot. And for example, there is a case study of one of the nonprofits. They have a field employees in Africa. And right now, the only way they've been able to pay is cash. So it's dangerous to have a backpack of cash to be paying 200 of their field workers. So it's been revolutionary what you mentioned, that now they've been able to pay in blockchain. And for us, it's like we take it for granted. And another one that really was eye-opening for me, how much there's still potential with this, is the refugees. So we have millions and millions of refugees. And right now they're in a limbo. Many of them are in the camps, and they cannot get out or getting the help and moving because they don't have the identity. And it is stored in a government database, and they have left everything behind. So these are the stories that they are saying with the fingerprint, you will be able to tell your identity. And those are such empowering ways how now us together, we are able to innovate of what are the social impact of also how over the years this will be now evolving. So that is something that I love, very much passionate learning more.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So we're just going to go down the line, and you guys can talk about what ways the company that you're representing today is contributing to social impact.
So let's start from the other side.
Yeah, we're going to start down there.
So can you mention, I'm sorry.
How is your company contributing to social impact with Web3?
Yeah, so that's Mission Impact. That's our name. We were so passionate about it. So yeah, you lost it there. But so basically what we have been now this year, we're a very new company, and we are looking different kind of education programs in many levels, education, nonprofits. So my co-founder is very involved with the World Economic Forum. We were at the United Nations in New York in May. And that is something right now, it's just building bridges. We want to learn because we don't know, but what we understand is that we need to collaborate. And it's not just the private sector. In Iceland, we had 400 women leaders coming together. And that was a common voice of we need to understand, because if we have a political leaders, we have a private media, everybody in the same space. So I think as a company now, what we are here is to learn and really then building bridges and connecting. I think that is a big job for us, is to connect. I know someone who knows that. Let me connect you with her or him. So that's what we feel like we've been doing this year.
So for Visible Women NFT, I think that the greatest mission that we're on is bringing visibility and understanding that being visible, I think, is tied in very closely to the ethos of NFTs, in the sense that you are now saying, these are my ideas. I want to be known for those ideas. I want my face to be the face of those ideas. Mm-hmm. And then being at the forefront of how to have the largest reach for those ideas. So that has been also tied into the power of conversation. So we are creating podcasts, and I think what we have come to see is that so much is surrounded around celebrity and culture that feels very inaccessible, that you have to have this many followers, this much of a certain level of whatever, of fame to be heard. And that we start to internalize that, and we don't value ourselves anymore, and for all of the amazing work that we're doing. So most of our conversations, I feel like when I've been conducting these podcasts, are around people that you may never have heard of their name. And it's a whole reframing of who do we want to speak to? Who do we want to connect with? Who do we want to learn from? Who has potential? and is accessible to me to learn from them as a role model and thinking of yourself as a role model. So I think all of that is being explored and getting away from just thinking that these conversations are limited to being interesting when it is someone who is a celebrity. And I think valuing visibility in and of itself and realizing that whatever you're doing, we need to work together, and basically that's how we're all going to rise. And that's how we're all going to receive more credit for our work, payment for our work. I mean, it leads to all of the things that I think that we're here building. But with the more that we stay invisible, then we are blocked from, that gated, the gated community is a very big part also of Web3. And I think the more that we break down those barriers and start to see one another and know one another, we are going to be able to have a lot more potential to collaborate.
Yeah, you know what? I love that because the celebrity influencer whole thing that's Web 2. So, they need us a lot more than we need them. If you actually think about it, like the everyday person. So, if you're spending your time supporting a celebrity just because they have clout, you should be supporting people who actually need your support and appreciate your support. And I mean, that's what Web3 is about. I mean, I'm up here because I put a podcast out for the first time last year, and the Web3 community supported the hell out of it, and it blew up. So,
And I received that same lift. I have to shout out to Miami, but Web3 Equity and Tuttle Tribe and a lot of the women in tech in the Miami community, they immediately, again, we just launched, and they supported me and supported Visible Women, and that's sort of that pay it forward idea that we need to be listening to one another, learning from one another, and again, not falling prey to just algorithms that the only people that I want to hear from. I mean, a lot of that doesn't even translate into Web3 in terms of who's actually having impact, So I think that the more we dig into this, we're going to start to know each other and have the connections and build what we're seeking to build.
Yeah, absolutely. Chauncey?
So at Angel Protocol, we really think of ourselves as an infrastructure improvement for impact financing. We provide change makers with easy access to the tooling they need to actually enact change in the world. So we make all the tooling of Web3 accessible for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs to set up a free fundraising page on our marketplace, accept crypto or fiat donations, and then grow those donations over time. So for nonprofits, the majority of nonprofits have less than 30 days of operating reserves, and only 1 in 9 have access to what they call endowments, which are effectively a savings and investment tool for charities and nonprofits. So with Angel Protocol, we really started by providing on-chain endowments for nonprofits, no charge to actually set up on our marketplace, so now they can fundraise from a global audience with no friction, really make it inclusive for charities who don't have a lot to pay a setup costs and do all of this stuff. We want to make this tool available for people who need it. And then we're taking that same toolkit, using it for social entrepreneurs to empower people, especially in emerging markets, to be able to go, set up their organization, get impact investment from all over the world, and actually use that to manage their treasury and grow that in a sustainable way. So we're all about inclusion and trying to make this tooling that has been very abused over the past summer plus of kind of the first heyday of DeFi, and use it the way it actually is meant to be used. And I want to give a quick thing too for the Angel Alliance. So the Angel Alliance is a complement to Angel Protocol. It's actually a federation of over 100 different L1 ecosystems, protocols, NFT projects, validators that have all joined a giving pledge to commit a portion of their revenue to charity or incorporate charity into their product or service offering in some way. And with this, we help show the world, the public, regulators, that this space can be a force for good. And people want to give back. You really just have to make it easy to do so. So that's what we're focused on.
Very cool.
Thanks, Chauncey. Not to be counter, but I'm going to be pretty counter. So with Nachi, we're all about using data for good, as I said, but we got to democratize the power of data to help us move from an egocentric system to an ecosystem mentality. And so we believe, though, the only way to change the world is actually not through nonprofits, charity, and impact. We think that putting the things that are good for the world in a box actually limits the number of people that will actually be involved in it. And so for us, it's about making things that are profitable also for the people. And so we've decided to focus on that through music. And I bet you every single one in here has a music that changed their life, that they can think about it saving them. And so we see music as our medium to actually drive impact and change. And so we have to empower artists to be able to make a living and continue to make their life-saving art. And so that's where we've chosen to impact the world through culture. And if you're connected to the things that people care about and the things that people love, then they're influenced by those people and those platforms. And if you're then influencing towards things that actually will help more people than harm people, then you have a chance at actually having the impact.
Yeah, I love that. I actually heard that if you listen to 5 songs a day, it'll actually affect you in a positive way, mentally.
Depends on the songs.
Yeah.
Right, so this is for Rocks. Evenus.rocks is the domain name and also the handles of our social media. Now about what we do. Going a little bit back to the discussion about influencers. I think the shift happened from Web2 influencer on Instagram especially, everything. Then TikTok came in, I think, okay, TikTok is great. Now we are looking at actually Web3, which is, we're talking metaverse spaces, where we are not talking influencers, we're talking inspiring humans. Because we gave chance to all the people to raise their voice in the very democratic and smart, intelligent way to show what they're passionate about, what they're interested in. Like, you're doing a great job sharing what you are passionate about, and you are doing a great job at speaking about your passion. And as Evenus, we decided, passion was never in the spotlight, and how about we do something about it? So what we decided to do, we grabbed Metaverse because we believe it's a great tool with no borders to bring people together. But once you are there, you need to offer something more, because otherwise people are leaving and there's an empty virtual shell. How do you keep people excited about things? Well, opportunities that you mentioned are very needed. To start with, first, people come to understand what their passion. Let's say there is a career shifter. In the pandemic, they lost their job in restaurant business. Now there is a family to feed, maybe single mother, maybe a full family, but okay, what's next? The restaurant business is not a good opportunity. Technologies, but I have no idea about technology. How do I get in there? Now, if you put artificial intelligence as a recommender system, think Netflix, to tell you, okay, let's start with your passion. What do you like? I know food, but I like plants and I like space. There is no single education system that can match it for you and certify you and give you a job. Now, if algorithm works in a very smart way, it says, cool, plants is agri-tech, data science, engineering, all there to support people with food for long years to come. Level 1, growing plants on Earth, food on Earth. Level 2 is space tech, whereas humanity figuring out how to plant on Mars. Now, you can work with NASA. You probably believed you would never get there, but we can, because on the other end is NASA waiting for you to get that skill. And so many other companies. While companies come to the space of metaverse to showcase their business, products and services, they also expect communities to come and become part of their journey. And vice versa, you are searching for opportunity to bring your passion to the incentivized kind of way of earning while doing this stuff. So this is where I think all of us in it together, we are looking at the world of opportunities that are not discriminative, that are open and offered without any, MIT backgrounds, that you can just say, I want to learn it, I want to try it, I want to build my tribe, I want to learn from everyone, and then I can help you get incentivized, and you then can help me. That's it. This is the Web3, in my understanding. And this is also, I would say, impact pointed in your direction, Tarja, but I think we are having the wrong slide here, so this is not us, but also great people, so follow all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that concludes the Web3 Impacting the World panel. So could you guys give our panelists a round of applause?